One of the things that I think is very important for us to do here is to applaud those politicians which do a good job of shutting down the nonsense. They make it very easy for folks to see the stark contrast between sanity and insanity that exists between everybody else and MAGA right now. Frankly, it's progressives and MAGA. And then a whole lot of people in between who are simply there to appease their billionaire bosses. Let's jump into it. This is a piece by TYT Investigates, and it's showing someone who shut down more MAGA. Not a MAGA politician, but simply a piece of bigotry being tossed around in a public forum. Let's have a look.
This stuff that's in the books, it's garbage. It is pornographic. The Word of God says that there is one man.
Already I'm furious. And yes, excuse me, it's not a congressman. I'm sorry. I got thrown by the podium. Still good to raise this person up though, because in fact, arguably even better, because this is something you can do the very next city council meeting that is held in your area. This is something you can do. This person is uniquely qualified, it looks like. Let's still watch it together, and bear in mind that, look, these crazies love turning out to city council meetings. And when only they turn out there, then your city council thinks, holy God, if I want to keep my tiny little paper crown in this town, I better appease these nut jobs because that's who my constituents are. Disabuse them of that notion. Show up to these things and be like this historian. All right, let's listen to it. Here's the nut job.
One woman, there's two genders only. The Word of God says that there is one man, one woman, there's two genders only.
I hold a master's in library and information science, so what I understand is that these proposals are the equivalent of hiring a lawyer who hasn't passed the bar or scheduling surgery with a doctor who isn't licensed to practice. It will lower our city's standards. I know the people of Huntington Beach, and I trust that our community can handle the freedom to choose what is right for them at the library. Hi, my name is Laura Adelot. I am a current resident of Huntington Beach, and I grew up here. This is my hometown. I'm here today to address the proposal to undermine our city's library with 3 points. First, I want to echo something I've been hearing a lot of in regard to this proposal, which is that it is insulting to the people of Huntington Beach. The proposed changes suggest that we as individuals, as parents, as a community, are not smart enough or strong enough to walk into a library and make decisions for ourselves or talk to our children about making decisions about how to encounter a wide array of books and make choices and judgments that are right for us and for our families.
All right, point number 1. Let's jump right at that. Great job turning their rhetoric around against them. The great news, if you want to be doing what this person's doing, is that the people you'll be speaking out against provide for you a playbook as to how to take them down. Apparently the man is after me. Oh, never mind. It's just a child abduction alert. Dark times. It's one I've also already seen. Unfortunately, I'm no longer in that area, but I'll keep my eyes peeled. They provide a playbook for you to take down what they're talking about. And if you invert everything they say, you'll find, oh, that's where sense lies. So yes, they're talking about parents' rights when they say we want to take away a parent's rights to teach their children as they please. And this woman has correctly turned it around and said it's an insult to the parents of this community to suggest that they cannot decide for themselves what books their children can read. And listen to the language that MAGA uses. Listen to the language. They say, I want to decide what my kid can read, but what then functionally are they doing? They're taking the ability for you to decide what your kid can read. They already had the ability to say, little Timmy, little Susie, whatever. Don't read X, Y, and Z. You're not allowed. They already had that ability. What they didn't have was the ability to go to your little Timmy or your little Susie and say, you're not allowed to read this. So instead, they bullied the school board, who is significantly weaker in terms of character than your little Timmy or Susie, and has resulted in this. So this woman has correctly spun this around. We can take a lesson from the way she's talking now. It's an insult to parents to say that they don't have the ability to decide for themselves what is best for their children. To right you, my dear, to right you.
You may notice I said my degree is in information science. This is because it's the absolute mission of librarians, the thing that is drilled into you in library school, that the librarian's role is to impartially provide his or her community with access to information that exists in the world, as much information and as wide and varied information as possible. We all want librarians to be the ones doing that job because they are the ones who trust you as members of their community to be smart and strong in what you do with that information. Like it?
That is a noble calling, for the record. I did not know that that was taught in librarian school, and I'm delighted to hear that it is.
Hate it, refuse to engage with it, that's up to you. Finally, an historical point. My own work as an historian and a librarian took me to Philadelphia, where I've worked firsthand with Revolutionary-era letters and pamphlets written by our founding fathers. One thing that stands out when reading those early documents is how vital the freedom of information was to the founding of our country. Benjamin Franklin founded our first library and was our nation's first librarian. The sometimes controversial books he selected for that initial library helped our nation grow from ideas into action. After all, Franklin and friends had some pretty radical and shocking opinions for their times. They all knew that if England had appointed some British city attorney as head librarian in Franklin's place, that the history of America might be very different. So let's be smart, let's be strong, and let's continue to support the centuries-old American tradition that freedom of information for...
Good honor. Good honor. Remember that at every city council meeting, you have an opportunity to have a similar moment. And I bet you that in the crowd, there are people who are waiting for someone who is brave enough to stand up and say the thing they wish they said. And they will clap for that person. And you know what? If they're not in the crowd, then the reason they are not there is because nobody has shown up to do that whenever they did turn up. So start showing up. Start talking out about, the various insane things local crackpots want to do in your community, because we have allowed a culture to spring up amongst the crackpots of interfering with grown-ass adult politics, which has led to the evil child version of politics that is MAGA. You know, the kind of cruel, awful, with no true understanding things toddlers say. That's a whole political party now, because we have simply left that space vacant so it was filled with filth. Got to clear them out. Show up at your local community meetings. We did last week play the equivalent of that in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives, talking about minimum wage. I would recommend, if you got the guts and you don't have a career that you are particularly passionate about right now, or at least one that if you've got a career that you can set aside for a couple of years, I would recommend taking a whack at running for office. Doesn't even have to be on a national level. Run for your state house. You'll make a world of difference to the people who live in your community. But at the very least, turn up to some of these city council meetings. And even if you're not feeling confident to go up and speak your piece about this or that, be there to applaud for the person that is. Be there to support the person who braves the unknown crowd. And give them a pleasant surprise. Regardless, I love seeing the pushback these days. It's dark now, but that's because dawn's right around the corner.